everybody. We're live.
Yay!
We went on early. We couldn't wait to go on.
We can't.
I'm rocking my green today.
You are.
That's Redskins, everybody. Redskins.
Yeah, you like that Washington football team, don't you?
The Washington Redskins, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, see, I'm a Dolphins fan, and you just got Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even care if the name stays. I think I don't care about anything else other than getting some offense.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I have a good defense.
Yeah.
We always do.
Yeah.
But
They'll turn around.
Huh?
They'll turn around. It's bound to happen.
Hopefully, I mean, anything's possible. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, so
That's right. That's right.
anything's possible.
You're right. You're right. No, I think they'll be much better this year. I think that they have, I think they have the building blocks in place to at least make a run for the playoffs.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Yes, Jocelyn, I'm in your room. This is the room that Jocelyn claims when she comes and she stays here. It's my Gettysburg room.
So, right.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I had to come in here because, as I was saying last week, my laptop, it's a ThinkPad thingy, it just fell off the bed and the screen doesn't work. So last week I had to use my phone. I was like, I can't survive like this. I got to see big. And so I have it connected to a TV. So this is weird.
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
looking at you. I think I am, but I'm looking at the TV.
Yeah.
So.
No, we'll make this work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you celebrate St. Patty's Day?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say no. Okay. I was brought up in a very traditional Irish Catholic family, and we ate a lot of potatoes, and a lot of really bland food. And now that I'm an adult, I kind of want to get away from that. So I really, and I don't drink. I don't partake of the alcohol either. So that kind of rules me out for everything.
So hold on a second. Can I ask you a personal question?
Absolutely. We're at that stage now.
All right, cool. Sweet. So, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Sure.
But do you not drink for a reason?
It's chronic alcoholism that runs in my family.
Gotcha.
I just try to stay away from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are watching. Kim, hi Kim. Hey Jossie. Hi Cody. Hi Chris. There's a lot of people watching, so cool. Hi John. Everybody's saying hi to both of us. Just say no.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hello to all of those people out there watching.
Yes. All right. So we're gonna talk. It's a green. This is weird. You know what I was thinking about? I'm like, it's a green holiday, but we're gonna be talking red, right?
You know what though? I promise you, I assure you.
And I like your red shirt. Nice.
Thank you.
The red and black is kind of vampirish.
Exactly. But I will promise you, before we are done this evening, I will bring in Ireland in on this discussion.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk. Let's talk vampire.
Let's do this. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm so excited about this. I don't even know I feel like I don't even have to ask you anything. I was just like, sit back and tell us all the story.
Tell us all the stories about vampires, right?
Yeah.
As you know, as a researcher and somebody that has a background in things like anthropology and sociology and folklore, it's kind of my desire to find out where these archetypal characters begin. They just don't come out of nowhere. There has to be a genesis for the vampire. So as a researcher, I try to go back as far in time as I possibly can to find the birth, if you will, of the vampire and the legend of the vampire. So in doing that, you have to go through a lot of, the archaeological record, and you have to really go back and see how far you can go. And I am pretty confident that I've been able to find out at least where some of these myths have originated. And it's interesting because we are going to go to England, but we're going to go back to England at about 14,000 years ago. So
Wow.
we're going back pretty well, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what is so interesting about this time period? Between 14,000 and 11,000, you start having the glaciers breaking up, okay? So about 14,000 years ago, we have the Great Lakes forming, we have Lake Champlain forming, we have Loch Ness forming, all this great stuff is going on, okay? Prior to this, the Earth was actually getting a little warmer. We have instances in the Middle East where people were settling down and doing some rudimentary farming, some rudimentary animal husbandry, and some planting and things like that. So life for us humans was getting fairly decent. We were still hunter gatherers, but our life was becoming a little bit more sedate. Okay, so then something happens. Something terrible happens over the course of just a decade or so. And that is whenever a period called the Younger Dryas takes place. And this is a little ice age. It's like a little hiccup in the climate of the Earth. So as everything's melting and everything looks fine and everything, in the period of about a decade, the Earth's temperature drops about 14 degrees. Like that's like overnight in the grand scheme of things. So what happens now is ice starts coming back again. People have to leave their sedentary lifestyle and start becoming, hardcore hunter gatherers again. So we go to England. So we're going to go to England now during the Younger Dryas. We'll pretend it's 12,000 years ago, and we're in England. At that time, there's only about 1,000 people in England. Actually, some anthropologists call this period of time in England the time of the living dead, because more people are dying than are being born. It's not looking good for human beings at this time, but there are people there. And it's interesting because they find a cave in Cheddar Gorge. That's where we get our cheddar cheese from. So in Cheddar Gorge, we find a cave called Go's Cave.
You know so much shit.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
It's amazing.
It's gonna get fun though. It's gonna get fun.
So, like you're even throwing in little facts like that's where our cheese comes from. Like,
that's where our cheese comes from, and we Cheddar Gorge, So, but what is interesting at this time?
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Is they find this was also where some people were living. The typical cavemen were living here to get away from the cold weather. So they find this whole pile of bones of antelope and deer and everything, and among those bones they find some human remains, four different bodies, a couple of adults, a couple of adolescents, and one child. And we find that there are marks on the bodies from where these things were harvested and processed just like human beings. So what makes this site so interesting, though, from a vampiric perspective, is they found several of the skulls that were shaped in such a way that they became goblets. And inside those skulls was residue of human blood that was being drank. And it looks like this was not for ceremonial purposes. It looks like this was done completely for gastronomical purposes. This was done solely to stay alive. This is a very difficult time. I would, if you think about it, it's a lot easier to hunt a child than it is to hunt a woolly mammoth. So it all kind of makes sense. But I think that if we go back in time, if you really want to tell a point in human evolution that really strikes the human consciousness, it is at this period of time whenever other human beings are coming out of caves and preying upon the living. Now, we have to understand, too, at this time, caves was seen as a way into the underworld. Caves were seen as a domain of the dead. And so it looks as if, the dead rising up, Also, you have to understand that bats live in caves. So this whole connotation with bats and vampires are all there. So, somebody that's studying the archetype, this is something that I researched for years trying to finally come to a conclusion. And I think that I did a pretty good job at connecting the dots to say that at least in Western European ideology and mythology, that this particular time, about 11,000 years ago at Go's Cave, meets all the hallmarks for the genesis of the vampire myth.
Wow. But that totally makes sense.
It does. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, but this is just in England at the time. You have to understand the whole world was being affected at this little ice age, and this little ice age only lasted about 200 years. It wasn't very long lasting, just enough to throw things off of balance for a little bit. But we have to understand the whole world was kind of put back into its place for a little bit. But as soon as we leave this ice age, we know that it made such an impact on who we are as human beings that we now have evidence from the Middle East the whole way up to the British Isles that there was a fear of the dead, because we can find graves, Italy, we can find graves in Israel, we can find graves, like I said, throughout from the Middle East to the British Isles, where the graves of, and it was all males, it was all men about the age of 30, were disinterred. We know they were already dead, and the skulls were smashed in. This was called the skull crushing culture. Then it lasted for a very little period of time. But whatever was going on, there was a fear of the living that the dead could rise up. So they went there and they dug them up and they did their thing. One interesting cave in Italy has a back antechamber in one of the caverns where a skull is put by itself and a ring of stones is put around it, like a palisade, as if they want to kind of fence it in. So the idea that the dead can feed upon us is something now that's so part of who we are at this particular time that it never leaves us. We still have that as part of our mythology to this day.
So, and that's interesting. And that, I mean, like, we still, when you go back 14,000 years, 20,000 years, I mean, no matter how people were into, the other side, I mean, it was always a thing.
No, it was always a thing. Well, we have been anatomically, like if we would go back in time 200,000 years ago, we were anatomically the exact same as, we call them the Cro-Magnon, but that is just a period in time. But you could not have told anybody apart. I mean, our morphotypes might have been slightly different. We're probably a lot taller than they were, but our mind would work the same. So the same kind of ideas that we come up with are the same ideas that they came up with as well, too. So it doesn't take a very big leap of faith to think, well, this had happened in our past where, these people would come out into our village and they took a couple of our kids and, they apparently ate them. They were coming out of the caves. And this story being told and retold now becomes a part of our cultural folklore. And then that spreads even more. And when everything starts settling down, they think, maybe the dead is something still to worry about. And I also come into play by, connecting the dots, like I said. This probably happened at a time whenever there was plague going on, there was some sort of disease going on that people could not explain. This is a pre-scientific world, mind you. So if people start dying and you can't explain what's going on, you start thinking about supernatural explanations. And one of those things were to think that the dead was rising up because nothing else makes sense.
That's some deep shit.
It is. It is.
Right?
Well, okay, we're gonna jump ahead a little bit, okay? So
Why did nothing happen? Like, well, and then how did so then now you're saying, well, the vampire then became a myth?
well the idea of the vampire, the word vampire doesn't appear until 1700s. If that, so we are dealing right now. So the vampire would have been. It would have.
But you're saying, though, that you think that whole ideal came from 14,000 years ago.
Right. No. This is something that's going to be culturally developing for thousands of years until it finally gets up to us. So if we go back in time, the idea of the vampire and the zombie would probably have been very, very closely connected, that kind of thing. We're not talking so much about the development that we would see in like the works of Bram Stoker. We are seeing something that is probably a personification of disease. It's probably a personification of cannibalism. It's that skeleton in our collective closet of humanity that we really don't want to admit to, But every now and then, we open up the closet and all the bones fall out, and we have to deal with them in some way. So I think that is really one of the things that we're dealing with. We as humans do not want to admit that we are capable of very heinous things, especially whenever it comes to preying upon other human beings and eating them. So to put the mask of the vampire on the human kind of takes away our responsibility. We blame monsters rather than blaming us. It just works out that way from a psychological perspective. So
well, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
Because I get asked this question a lot. It's a question. If you had a choice, would you be a werewolf, a vampire, or there's always another thing? I would totally be a vampire in 3 seconds.
Yeah, we talked about this before. I would personally want to be a werewolf.
Yeah, we did. I think we did. The vampires they're so cool.
They are. They're very cool.
They have a fun lifestyle.
You don't have to get dirty.
Huh?
You don't have to get dirty like a werewolf, because they have to go out in the woods and prowl around and stuff like that.
So no, you're like forever young.
Forever young.
Have like the amazing sex life. Apparently.
That's what they claim. And we're going to get into that later. We're going to get into that later. Yep.
Later. All right, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that now. But yeah, and if you're a werewolf too, you have to replace your clothes every time you change.
Yeah.
Because it just rips them apart.
And the vampires always dress so cool. Like some of my favorite movies are like Blade, all the Blades. Yep. Love the Blades, right? The vampires are always so cool.
They are. They can wear sunglasses. Cool stuff. But I think there's just something very bestial about the werewolf that I like. That idea of kind of like submitting to all those kind of impulses and those urges, and then you no longer control your own instincts. You become something else.
That was my dad's favorite animal. So cute little note. So I wasn't living at home, and I had gotten like 4 tattoos, right? Never told my dad. So one day he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I got a tattoo of a wolf on my arm." I was like, "Really?" So he did. He had like this tattoo of this like wolf because it was his favorite animal. And I was like, "So now's a good time to tell you about mine."
Nice.
Never knew he was going to get one, but that was his favorite.
What kind of tattoos do you have?
Huh?
What kind of tattoos do you have?
I got my dad's sergeant's badge.
Oh, very nice. He was a police officer.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I do have his signature. I don't know if you can see it.
Right there. Yep.
I have his signature. He wrote me a letter, and I got his signature off of the letter. Took it to a
that's awesome. Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just connects to my infinity. I have a huge Saint Michael. I don't know if you guys can see it. Well, it goes on my neck. Can you see that?
All right. Yes, I do.
And then, can you see it?
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
And then I have a rose on my foot or on my leg, and then I have a "Fly Me to the Moon" tattooed on my foot.
Okay, you like some Frank Sinatra too?
I love Frank Sinatra, but it's for my grandmother for sure. My grandma. Butterflies over here. Gettysburg Court. Wait a minute. Can you see it? Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. This is awkward. This is awkward, like having the TV as your. I'm trying to. I don't know if you see it.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Oh wait, there we go.
Yeah, it works out beautifully.
That was the coordinates for Gettysburg.
Nice. Perfect. I think that if you and I ever get together, we should go get a tattoo of a bat.
I love bats.
I do too. I really like bats a lot.
So, yeah, I think so too. Let's do it. We should do it.
We're there when we go to Pine or to the Pine Barrens.
Yeah. We'll do it. We'll get matching tats.
We're gonna get that done, and we'll get them done in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Nothing says a tattoo like New Jersey. That's right.
All right, so let's get back to.
It was a good point. Though it was a good point whenever you say about the seductiveness of the vampires as well too, because this development is very, very, very early on in the development of the vampire, and this goes back actually to Jewish mythology in the character of Lilith. who, if you can remember, anybody out there who's over 40 years old can probably remember something called the Lilith Festival, if you can remember that. That was big whenever it was all women performing. So you would have people like Natalie Merchant and Four Non Blondes. So it was just nothing more. Yeah, group tattoos. And there would be nothing more than a concert just of women. And this was in celebration of the character of Lilith, because according to Jewish commentary, Lilith was the original wife of Adam. And she was consubstantial with Adam. She wasn't made out of a rib like he was. She was made out of the same dust as he was. And Lilith had a bit of her own mind. She did not really understand why Adam could be pleased in sexual ways and she could not. So one particular instance, she decided that she was going to be in control and take over. So the commentary states that she wanted to be on top. So that was a complete disrespect for the man who has
Really?
to over the woman. Yes. So for that indiscretion, she was kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and in the wasteland, it said that she came upon Satan himself, and they ended up having children. And
Okay, wait. So do you watch Lucifer?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch it. They tell this story.
Oh,
Well,
I didn't
kind of
know.
like Eve shows up and it's like they're in love with each other.
Yes. Wow. I'm gonna have to
Yes.
start watching that.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to start watching. I did.
I told you it totally reminds me of that because she shows up and they're supposed to be like they were like first love, so she was like coming back to like
Right.
be with him.
I know they did a little brief cameo of Lilith in True Blood.
Yeah.
On HBO. Yeah, but yeah. See there you go. See, we're already this now. The Lilith myth goes probably back 7,000 years. This is an ancient myth. And this is even before. This is part of the oral tradition, even before the Torah was even starting to be developed as a written scripture. So this is a very ancient thing. But yeah, so Lilith goes. She marries Satan, or she actually has children, offspring with the devil. And those in the Islamic tradition, those become jinn, and these jinn now are going to be out forever.
Oh, that's where that comes from.
Yep. But the Jewish tradition is that the children actually become these little bloodthirsty creatures, and because she was thrown out of Eden, her children now are going to feed off of the children of Adam and Eve. So at the very beginning, we always see, even when we go the whole way back to Go's cave, we see the children are always part of this. Even if you watch Bram Stoker's Dracula, or if you read the book, whenever I forgot the gosh darn girl's name, but the first girl that dies, she is carrying a child back to her grave, and that's the same way in the book as well too. And also Dracula feeds his brides a child and everything. So the idea of feasting upon children has been part of it from the very, very beginning as well too. But now we start seeing the sexualized nature. We start seeing that these creatures now will come to you at night. There was a tradition in the Greco-Roman world that these vampiric creatures would come, and they are the cause of nocturnal emissions in men. That is a sign of a succubus coming upon you. And would gradually drain your energy. So now, from the very beginning, we have this feeding upon humanity. Now we have these creatures now feeding upon the sexual appetite of humanity as well too. And that adds a whole other perspective in the whole thing.
Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah, look at these people. This is awesome. Some love.
Yeah.
Showing you some love.
Yeah, but you.
No. You know what? I think that they would tune in just to see you talk there all by yourself. I know that I would.
I probably have had to do that a few times, and then some of my good friends saved me, and they're like, "Oh, come on," But yeah.
No. I think that you're not giving yourself enough credit.
All right, so they become very
Very sexualized. Yeah,
very
very
sexualized.
sexualized.
So
Yeah.
that wasn't always a thing.
No, I mean, there's probably a few thousand years though between the idea of cannibalism and the idea of sex, but it comes out pretty quickly though. It doesn't take too long.
Yeah, they're saying they have seen me talk. Oh, all right. So go
That's
ahead.
okay. No,
So
no,
wait,
no,
the sexual and the cannibalism came like at the same time almost?
no. The cannibalism was always first, and then as we start going on, then it becomes sexualized. But the cannibalism is still there, mind you. You know, these are creatures that are going to come upon you at night. They're going to suck your life force out of you, plus your sexual force as well too. So yeah, so we're still going back, like I said, 7,000 years ago. Whenever something is going to come, it's going to have sex with you, and then it's going to eventually eat you, and not in the good way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not in a good way. Did you see that? That took me a second. I was like,
Yeah, that's right. That was like a hand grenade. It takes a while to go off. Yeah.
wow. So
Yeah.
then that's where you're saying, like, that's where then the succubus thing would come from.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's something coming, and now the idea now too is it's coming to feed off of a man. So that's the other thing too, is that kind of puts men in our place, doesn't it? It's one of those things that we can't control. It comes at us when we're at our most weak, whenever we're sleeping. So we can't do anything about it whatsoever. So they're coming to us, and they're feeding upon us, and they're using us for their own pleasures. And then, what they do to us will eventually drain us and kill us.
So you're saying that this is the succubus type of a thing, or still the vampire thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the succubus and the idea of like the Lamitsu, which is from Mesopotamian mythology, and the Lemuria, which is part of the Greco-Roman world. These are all different names. These are all colloquial names for basically the same thing. It's the personification. It's a woman who's personified as something that is plague-like, something that's disease-like, that will come and make its mark on the human world.
That's well then, but then you have what's the male, or what's
An incubus.
an incubus, right?
Yeah.
So the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life, to this day, I can't watch it alone, but The Entity.
Oh yes, that's Barbara Hershey. That is a scary one. Yeah,
that's scary.
Yep.
Like, you think that was more incubus, other than, I mean, I know they never really figured out
Yeah, that's a good.
what it was, but
yeah. I think the whole idea is the succubus is mostly comes to men, and the incubus basically comes to women. So that's.
Yeah. But would you classify that as an incubus? What was going on with that woman, or would you think that was what they thought? Because they thought it was just a negative.
Yeah, incubi. Usually, the word comes from like incubator, where we get that from. So they're coming to implant in that woman some sort of evil, okay? Some sort of. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They don't give you the right number. They ghost you. That kind of a thing. Yeah, but no, I do know that was a very effective psychological horror movie, and I do remember very much.
It's insane, but yeah, like I said, so you wouldn't say that was an incubus because it wasn't always at night, or?
Oh, it doesn't matter whenever they come. They can come at night or day or anything like that. But I think that, like, if technically the way we're looking at it, I think that she was bombarded by some sort of supernatural entity. I think that was probably what was going on. I don't think they were really looking at any kind of mythology or folklore attached to that. They just wanted to find something that was invisible to make this female's life a living hell.
Yeah, but you think it was psychological?
Well, I mean, from the way that they gave it to us, it was completely psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, whenever they were making The Exorcist, they wanted that originally to be a psychological movie as well too, and we would have to guess if this was actually a demonic possession or something that the little girl was making up. Of course, that kind of changed things a little bit later in the movie. But yeah, the idea of what the human mind can do, that's a great area in there to kind of go in and like fill around with. I mean, that's a scary place sometimes. And yeah, so
Yeah, but I mean, like in the movie, they show you. Now I don't know what's true, 100%, or what's not true. It's obviously based on a true story what this woman was going through. But like even her ex boyfriend was like thrown across the room, and
yep.
you know what I mean. Like,
Mhm.
and he left her.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm
I
not
wouldn't
staying around.
suggest it. No, I mean either.
I will still text her. Don't get me wrong. I'll still text and I will say, you know what? Whenever you get rid of that psychotic ex of yours, I come back over. But I'm not,
It is so
you're
funny.
two-timing with me some sort of invisible entity. I'm not dealing with that.
Chris said, didn't the Black Plague play a part in revitalizing the vampire?
Chris Wolfgang. Look at that name. That's a great name. Wolfgang.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He is. Chris absolutely played a part in the whole idea of the vampire craze. Because the plague, people didn't understand what was going on with the plague. And people were, the plague's not a very pleasant thing. You would have these pustules all over your body, the buboes, where we get the word bubonic from, and they would be these pus, blood-filled type of swellings all over your body, and they would eventually break open. And again, like vampirism, how you become a vampire is by being bit by a vampire. So at this time, also, you experience people coming in contact with somebody and spreading the virus. So now we start figuring out what happens. So whenever I said before about the vampire as personification of disease and pestilence, in the Middle Ages, it really does reach its peak. Now we see the cross being used to kind of ward this evil out. A whole town would succumb to the plague, and they would put a cross up at the road leading into town, where they would paint a red cross on the door telling people not to go in there. So this was seen as spiritual warfare. There was no other way to explain it. 1/3 of Europe died from this. And if you would think about it, the way it spread, the idea of the flea biting you, it's very vampiric in and of itself, isn't it? And the way it spreads, you have to come in.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it. And
yeah.
then if you take that and combine it with what they were doing back then, you know what I mean? It kind of, I can see how it would. Now we have.
Yep. Well, think about this as well too. Mass graves all over the place. You throw in people with 6 or 7 into a pit. This is not a pleasant time. The crying going on. Wondering if you're going to be next. It would seem as if something was, hunting you down. If we think about whenever the COVID started and everybody wearing masks and everybody scared and staying inside. Now you can imagine in a pre-scientific world what that must have been like. I mean, that would have been horrifying.
Yeah.
But another thing that I came across with there though is, so how does a vampire get into your home?
Well, everything that I've seen on movies, they just, I mean, like curtains fly, whatever, but they just like come through the window, or they're just there.
They do, but if we think about,
they're a bat. They're a bat.
Well. Okay, so there's another.
And they turn into a vampire.
That's right, but there's another part of folklore is this as well too. Have you ever heard that in order for a vampire to get into your house, they have to be invited?
No.
You never heard that?
Mm-mm.
Wow, that is actually, if you watch things like a Fright Night.
You know what? No, I did know that.
Yep, Roddy McDowell and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, because the mother left them in. They go, he invited us in. Also, Lost Boys as well, too. They invite the other person in. So
Lost Boys was a good movie.
Oh, Lost Boys is one of my favorites. So as I'm starting to do my little connecting the dots here, check this out. I think I know where this came up as. So if somebody comes to your door and you don't know who they are, if you do let them in, that is a great way to bring disease into your house, isn't it?
Yeah.
See? So I think that's where this mythology began. The only way a vampire can get into your home is if you let it in. And if you don't let it in, that prevents disease coming in. Think about how many people stayed in their bubbles during COVID. They wouldn't let anybody in their house because they were afraid of getting it. So I think that mythology of, the vampire can only get in your house if you allow it in, that goes back, in my opinion at least, to the Middle Ages, whenever the plague was going on. And if you don't let anybody in your house, the chances of your family getting it, because it's spread by contact, is very, very good.
So that's where that comes from.
That's my opinion. Yeah.
I know. I did know. I forgot for a second. Everybody's busting my balls because
Yeah, they're busting your nuts, man. They're busting your nuts. That's like the number one thing to know about vampires. That's the reason there's no vampires in my house right now.
I think I probably would invite them in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. I mean, I think if I thought they were cool, like they wouldn't do anything, like we were just gonna hang out. I'd want to party. I'd want to party with them for sure.
See, that's what a vampire wants you to believe.
I know.
They're gonna come in. It's gonna be cool. They're gonna Frank Sinatra. You're gonna talk about enlightenment, and the next thing you know, their eyes are turning red. They're growing teeth, and they're sucking the blood out of you. That's what happens.
No, they would make me a vampire.
Well, or they might just suck you dry.
How do they choose?
Well, they don't choose. Remember, that's the other thing. In order to become a vampire, you have to drink the blood of the vampire.
Oh, wait. Now, I've watched movies where, because I always thought about this. I'm like, how come they kill some, but then they bite some to make them vampires?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think a lot of this comes from the idea of the way diseases spread, especially whenever you think about rabies. Rabies has a unique incubation period, So
my boyfriend never comments on anything. But he just said that was a no. I'm not allowed to let them in.
Oh, right. Rob, I was actually going to be getting in my car, and I was a vampire knocking at her window, so that kind of blows that one up now. Wow, see? What a blocker, Rob. What a blocker. I was going to knock at your window with those little plastic fangs and say,
amazing.
Hey, that's right. I'd bring a bottle of red wine over and stuff like that. See, boy, I'll tell you what, he was on to me before it even began.
That's a no.
Wow.
Man. All right. So, yeah. So in the movies, I know it's a movie, but, they'll bite and then they kill some women or some people and then, or they, turn them into vampires.
Yeah, same way with werewolves too. That's the same way. That was a very popular trope in like the 1940s and 1950s. But the idea of becoming a vampire itself, I mean, you do see in Bram Stoker's Dracula as well too in the book that the characters do become vampires from being bit. But one of the traditional ways of becoming a vampire was actually consuming the blood of the vampire itself.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, see, okay, so the reason you would do that is that would be like an undying show of love and submission and everything.
Oh, so this person falls in love with this person. Oh, did you see the Abraham Lincoln one?
Yes.
Lincoln, the vampires. I thought that was going to be the cheesiest thing I've ever seen in my life, but I honestly thought it was good.
That's good. There are a few of you out there that thought that, so that's great.
So you didn't think that?
No.
I loved how they incorporated the Civil War and the silver and everything. That was like
right.
I loved how they did that.
It was interesting, and I would think that if vampires, like you think about New Orleans and everything, so the idea of vampires coming from the South makes perfect sense to me.
Right.
It's a great idea. I mean, I'm not faulting them for that. And then you come out with other classics like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and all that stuff. But no, I think that it was a great take.
It was different.
It was definitely different. Definitely different.
It was different, and like just how they tied history in with this myth, and this like totally made up story. Like I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad.
I mean, it's not like in my top like 10. You know what I mean?
No, of course not. It's like not like number one. Yeah.
Right. But it totally did surprise me. I thought it was going to be cheesy, corny, and it really wasn't.
No, I'm a big fan of the Underworld series. I like the Underworld series.
Do you like the Underworlds? I like
Yeah.
what was the one? I think maybe Chris was the 30 Days of Night with the
Oh,
in LA.
yes.
So Chris
Another
had
good one.
brought that up earlier. That was awesome.
That was a good one. Very good one. Very, very,
The
very.
Blades, I love the Blades. I can't even.
Yep. Yep.
I
And
love
of
those.
course, Lost Boys.
Oh, what about Dusk Till Dawn? Weren't they vampires?
Yeah, they were vampires. Absolutely right. Yeah. Quentin Tarantino, another good movie. That's right.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Lost Boys.
nothing beats Kate Beckinsale in a skin tight liquid vinyl suit.
True. You got
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
However, Stephen Dorff was a really hot vampire, and George Clooney was a really hot vampire hunter.
Yes, that's very true. Very true.
So,
I will give you that.
yeah. And then you had Brad Pitt in uh the Bram Stoker's one.
No,
Wait, no, he was in Interview with the Vampire.
that's right.
Yeah, which that's like top notch on my book. The
I'm
interview.
glad. I'm glad. See, I'm finding a lot about you, and I'm glad that you like these movies. I particularly don't care for that movie, but I think it's because I like Brad Pitt. I've never been a big fan of Tom Cruise though.
No, me neither. I don't
Oh,
like
good,
Tom.
good, good. Yeah, I don't either. I
But
don't.
Brad Pitt is my like number one.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah, and he was a good.
Not actor. He's
Yeah.
just he's the free pass guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I only need one. Then that's it.
You only have one free pass.
No, that's all I want.
Oh, that's all you want. I see.
That's all I want.
I thought maybe you had like get out of jail free cards. You have like 5 of them.
Nope.
All
That's all I want. I have no. My favorite actor is Leonardo DiCaprio.
right.
He's my favorite actor.
Um,
But anyways, let's get back to the vampires and so the plague. Everybody's saying, ew, they don't like my Brad.
Yeah. I think Brad Pitt is almost like an acquired taste. For me, as a guy, whenever he was starting out, he was femininely beautiful. He was never like that classic.
It was Fight Club that did it to me. I never liked him before.
Right.
And then I watched Fight Club and I was like, okay.
Yep.
And then Troy came out.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
You like that stuff? Yeah. That's good. See, these are all very good things. I'm starting to see a little bit inner light is being shed into the way you think and operate right now. So
Yeah.
that's all very good. How did you like 300 then? Were you a big fan of the 300?
I probably could watch it on mute.
Okay, I agreed. I like to watch it because it really is cool to watch. It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah, no, it's really the graphics and
The
the
graphics. That's right.
yeah.
To be totally honest, a little bit of me kind of wanted to go to a Turkish bathhouse whenever I saw this as well too. Just saying, maybe change things up a bit. That happens every now and then. I'm going through another kind of like midlife crisis here. So yeah, that kind of stuff can happen. Yeah.
What did you think of Gladiator?
I hated Gladiator.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I really did.
Why?
Yeah, well, I you know what? Being a history guy, it did make sense because we were working.
You're not just a history guy. You're an everything guy. I could say one word and then you just encyclopedia. You just know everything.
Well, I do have some background information on Gladiator. Okay, so originally the Gladiator, the reason why there was so much hatred towards the Gladiator is because he was a Christian. That was one of the first rights through it. So whenever all this empire is coming down upon him, that was one of the reasons why. And then the director, Ridley Scott, who's, kind of like, a flag waving atheist, he decided he wasn't going to go that route. And he made it just, this political type of thing. So I think that was a very interesting thing because remember his family was crucified. So you have these kind of religious elements to it. And he always has this kind of dream about going to heaven where he sees his wife and everything. So if you think about that from a Judeo-Christian element, that makes a lot of sense. But then what happens is they take people like Commodus, who was a genuine ruler at the time, and they kind of then fictionalize it. The only problem that I had is that they were dealing with real characters and they were casting them into this kind of fiction. So
Wow.
ideal, yeah.
So vampires though have seemed to like kind of died out now.
Oh no. Oh, now let's now hold on now. Let's keep focused now. No, the vampires are going through a regenesis. Let's put it that way, because that's a good classic vampire thing. So what we had is we had Twilight. Okay, so
they were horrible,
and it kind of reshaped the way the vampire is perceived. Okay, no longer are they scary. Now they're kind of twinkly, glittery type of creatures, and they're capable of salvation. They're not inherently evil. So now we have, as we come into the latter part of the 20th century and moving into the 21st century, we see that even the creatures of the damned now have a bit of cultural diversity acceptance to them. They're the other, but they have to be accepted. They're now part of our classrooms. You can date them. Nothing as bad is going to happen. So now vampires have become like this kind of cool goth kid that sits in the back and glitters. They don't feed off of human beings anymore. So you do have that evolution now where we're taking in, like I said, almost a cultural diversity with the vampire.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to be a vampire.
Yeah, I know you do.
I want to be a vampire, but like if I had to, I had to choose.
You don't want to be a glittery vampire, though. You don't want to be a Twilight vampire, correct?
No, I want to be like in the Blade movies vampire.
Yes, absolutely. So our culture had a shot at redefining the vampire, and we took it, and I think we failed miserably. I mean, a lot of teen girls wanted to see that. And it was interesting. It was a cool take on the vampire mythos, but it's something that's not going to stick. 100 years from now, I assure you, we're not going to have glittering vampires. We're not going to do it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't have the same impact. We're talking about these creatures that necessarily have to be creatures of the night, and we cannot completely redo them to the point that it changes the whole perspective of it. We can't change the folklore like that. History doesn't allow that kind of stuff.
Right. Oh no, they're always going to be cool.
They're always going to be cool. They're always going to be before Bram Stoker's Dracula was written, there was a French book written called I think it was Camilla. Have you ever read that? It was about a female vampire that preyed upon another female vampire, and it was a love story. So this is the time, wherever you have, look, this is Victorian culture right here. And even though this was in France, you still have boundaries. And what this does now, it upsets the boundaries completely. You now have it being okay for a woman to show love to another woman, even sexualized love. And that was the very first kind of vampire novel that came out. And it was between two women. And then about 20 years later, Bram Stoker comes out with his Dracula. But yeah, and we said we were going to bring in the Irish folklore about
Hold on, I have a question though.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about this woman though, is the woman like the head of the vampires always seems to be a man?
Right. No, she was the head of the vampires.
I've never heard of
a so we know that she's quite ancient. The young heroine in the book sees a portrait of several hundred years old of the female vampire. So we know that she's very old. You see this kind of societal guidelines in place because the girl wants to give in to the female vampire, but she's afraid So you really have yeah, got a new reader. If you go to YouTube.
She was looking up your books.
Oh, right, right. I was going to say, if you want to see this, they actually did a thing on YouTube. I think some company did like a 3 or 4 part of Camilla on YouTube. But yeah, so we do see societal guidelines in play because we see the psychological drama playing out. Should she give in to her temptations? She knows that this is wrong, and all this other kind of stuff. But then we have Bram Stoker that goes right into the grit of everything, and we have this very suave type of vampire. Although in the book he's not suave. That's not until Bela Lugosi comes into play back in the 1940s. But yeah. So even Bram Stoker's Dracula was not the Gary Oldman that we see in the movie. This was still a very old, kind of withered individual that was just hanging on to the last bastions of his humanity.
True Blood was good.
True Blood, yeah, absolutely. Look, they had.
I would want to be that vampire too.
I have a thing for Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh, not Gwyneth Paltrow, Anna Paquin. So I would definitely do that as well.
Oh, I'd totally jump into that whole movie set and would just want to be a part of that funness that was happening.
Absolutely. It's what. Wait, let me see this. This is Jan. Yeah. All Souls trilogy about takes on witches, vampires, ghosts. Oh, right. I'm going to have to check that out. As a matter of fact, Janice, I'm glad that you put this up here because my daughter. I have a teenage daughter right now who is really into these movies like Legacy and what is it called? It's not. Is it Descendants? Maybe it's Descendants. I'm not sure. But there's several vampire movies out there right now, or vampire TV shows that have vampires, witches, ghosts, and werewolves in them. And then they have hybrids and they have tribrids and everything. So we're always playing with the mythology of the vampire. We're never going to not stop playing with it because it's so fascinating. But fairly, very cool, very cool. So it's kind of like Janice. It's kind of like Doctor Who with vampires and such. And is that right? Which I would like. But yeah. So even now, like I said, that I think it's on the CW network. They're still constantly playing with these ideas and pushing the boundaries on this.
He said, "I think the movie The Hunger was."
On the front story, it's very, very possible that it was. It's been a long time since I've seen The Hunger. I think that was that with Catherine Deneuve, if I'm not mistaken, and that might have even been David Bowie. Is that true? I think it may have been.
Is there? And Tyron wants them out on Facebook. Oh yeah, so I've been invited to come on the show.
Yes, you knew that, right? So my friend Brian. I'm not sure what he's done on Facebook, but he's in prison there for like 5 to 20 years or something. Like he got like really bad stuff. I don't know what he did. We're keeping it hush hush, but we want to do a Facebook Live with you. So yeah. So whenever we want you to be the first one on there, we're going to break out the live stream and all that stuff because I do like this very much.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I can't wait to come on. I told Brian just to message me, let me know when he wants me when you guys are going to do it. I'll definitely come on.
Excellent.
Oh, here, Janice is saying something. I think you asked a question, so she was answering.
So Janice says this is kind of, everybody can see that anyways. I don't have to read it, do I? So it's around but it's worth it. Yeah, I will definitely check it out. I will definitely check it out.
So
I have a lot of good interactive listeners. I like this.
Yeah, no, this is great. Well, first of all, I could just say, I say green cup. You'd be like, well, the green cup first originated back in 4000 BC, and they got the color green from the plants, and then they put the earth, and then we will talk for everything.
Yes.
I love it. I mean, I could talk to you forever.
I appreciate that. It's neat because it all leads into one thing. Like whenever we were on the show last time, I talked about leading down the rabbit hole, and it all has all this different stuff to it. It kind of feeds on all this kind of stuff. And whenever you put the vampire or the werewolf or anything into a cultural perspective, you have to see what's going on around the world at this time as well, too.
Right. But it's all the same thing. We just give it different labels.
Mhm.
Everything just seems. But so, do you believe in vampires?
Well, that's another thing we could talk. This is awesome. This is great. So another thing that we could talk about is what does the present day vampire look like? Okay, and there are plenty of people out there that identify themselves as vampires. Same way there's people out there that identify themselves as Klingons and Jedi Masters and everything else. So to say that,
Oh, I'm a Jedi Master.
see, there you go, there you go. There you go. I knew there was something about you.
Yeah, you nailed it.
That's right. I was going to say, every time I see you, my lightsaber immediately flares up. So this thing, so I knew that there was something there, something going on there. So my baby Yoda started stirring. But I was going to say is, and I
Kid.
going with this. I forget where I was going because I did have a salient. What was it doing? Before I started those bad jokes, there was something else I wanted to say about this.
You were saying.
Yeah, I
Hold
forget.
on. What were we saying?
I don't know. We're having such a good discussion here. It's one of those things where it was on the tip of my tongue and it just went by.
So you said
types
people,
of vampires are types of vampires.
and you started saying some people identify as this, identify that.
If you wanted to go to a vampire bar, you could go to one right now in New York City.
A vampire bar?
Yep. Tokyo has vampire bars. So you go in there.
Yeah. Have you ever gone in one?
No, I want to.
Oh my gosh.
It's like
you get tattoos of bats and then go to a vampire bar.
I'm in. I am so in.
Wait, first tell me what happens when we're in there because I'm not drinking anybody's blood.
Okay, so it's basically role play. So think about it as this. Think about a cosplay that serves alcohol. That's basically what it is.
Oh, so you get dressed up.
Right. You get dressed up. You kind of go in there.
That sounds kind of hot.
Again.
You could dress up like a vampire-ish?
Sure. You can dress up as any kind of vampire that you want to. You could have that kind of, you could go in there in a black latex outfit with sunglasses. We could do whatever you want to do there. That's perfectly fine. But when we get to the very hardcore personalities of some of these people, some do believe that they are vampires, So there's different types of vampires out there, my dear. So we have the sanguine vampire, which is kind of like the top of the pyramid. These are the ones that believe that blood is life and they need this blood. So if you so desired to drink somebody's blood or to be a host for somebody to drink your blood, you could actually go on a website right now, and I assume within a matter of minutes, you could find somebody to fulfill that wish that you have. Whenever I was writing my book on vampires, I found it incredibly easy, even in Western Pennsylvania, where I am located, that people would have no problem at all letting you suck their blood or what have you. So there's a sanguine vampire. So yeah, so I'm not a sanguine vampire either. I can't do it. So
I can't drink blood.
What's that?
I could never. I can't even fathom the whole.
No, the whole. Yeah, exactly.
Even a little drop.
Exactly. I'm out. So count me out. That's a hard
no. No, I'm out there too.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now where are we going?
So then we'll go to psychic vampire. Okay.
Psychic vampire.
Yeah. So that's like if you would ever go into a room and somebody comes into the room and the kind of the energy changes in that room. I believe my ex-wife is a psychic vampire. Yeah, my ex-wife, she would bring me down immediately. All of my energy was drained. So
I know some of them.
People that feed upon happiness or sorrow or anger. It's a mentality that you're feeding off of somebody else. You're feeding off of the other people's psychic powers. That's very close to an emotional vampire that feeds off of the emotions of other people as well too. So,
wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't like it there either.
Yep. Then we have a transcendental vampire, which they believe that they are eternal, that their soul is eternal, and instead of like feeding on anything, They just simply, you know, grab onto the idea of the universality and the immortality aspect of who they are.
So would this be the vampires that I'm in?
I, you know what, I possibly, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that is probably the type of vampire that you would be with. Yeah, I'm thinking that's it.
Are they the ones that like have fun and they party and they like just live life like?
Well, those are the sexual vampires.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. What are they
Okay,
called?
the sexual vampires.
Oh,
Sexual.
that's their actual.
Yeah, no. Sexual vampires are ones that feed upon the energy of the sexual union, and that is what makes them alive.
Totally me.
Okay, that's perfect. That's
That's
perfect.
where I'm at.
Yeah, that's right.
Just shove me in there with that group.
I'm going to be in that group as well too. That's one of the reasons I want to be a werewolf, though, because werewolves get to do that kind of stuff too. But I
They
guess
do.
though
I
you
would
don't
think like,
remember that.
yeah, but it's, I don't know. I mean, like they're
It's
like out in the wild and they're roughing it, you know. And it's like,
right,
how do they have time? Because they're like totally like,
right.
oh, but they're human though most of the time, right?
Yeah, but you don't. I don't think you remember what happens whenever you're a werewolf.
I don't.
I mean, that's a whole other thing. That next time I come on your show, we're going to discuss werewolves. But there's a lot of different things
Yeah,
about that.
because you know what? Honestly, I don't know anything about werewolves except for, I mean, I really don't.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of sex that goes involved with those too. So we'll have to talk about
When
that.
they're not beastie,
Oh no, whenever they're beastie, yeah.
they do it when they're beastie.
Yeah.
What about when they're not beastie?
They're just a regular person.
But they are still do it.
Yeah, with their human penis,
Yeah,
not their
yeah,
werewolf penis.
right, right. That's what I'm saying. They're still
Yeah.
gonna like.
Yeah, but it's not going to be as fun. The fun part is whenever you give over to your inhibitions. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yes.
I
So
thought.
the reason of the humanity will always take over. Uh, but if you're a vampire, you're already kind of primal, and as a werewolf, you're kind of primal. I like the idea of the pub crawl, though. I think that's a great idea.
Well, but I think that my sexual vampire people. I think my they're my people. I feel it.
Yes,
I like we would be doing pub crawls.
you would be doing pub crawls.
I
You
think so. But we would look like that group that walks in and everybody's like, are they like look at them? They're like you could tell we were like different, you know?
right. Well, at that person,
And you give off that like sexual vibe.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you go in there, and people all automatically know what you're about.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Automatically know what you're about. I like that. I think there's something to be said on that. It's kind of like a biker gang without the motorcycles.
Yeah. That group is cool.
Okay,
So is there any other so is there like one under that? Are these like up the first ones you said, are they like the top of the food chain of vampires?
not really the top of the food chain. It's just kind of like I went for the most traditional as the blood drinking vampire, and then I'm kind of moving.
Oh, so that we're going to from 17,000 to 2,000.
That's right. That's right. I've got a cat here too. I've got a sitting. I know, but it's getting close to my computer. Okay, just stay there. Just stay there. So then there's another kind of vampire as well too, and that is this kind of new age vampire. And I think this is going to be the big one that you're going to be wanting to be involved with. So it's the new age vampire that they're called elementals that want to be part of the natural world. So they feed off of the elements. So if there's a thunderstorm, they'll feed off of that energy, or they'll feed off of the energy of a tree, or they'll bask in the morning dawn and pull that energy. I think I would be an elemental vampire because it's very new agey. You're dealing with, the environment. So I think I will go with the elemental vampire.
I think I'm going to stick with the sexual vampire group.
Well, I can be the sexual vampire as well too. But the thing is, though, I'm a dude, so whenever I'm not having sex for like months at a time, I will just simply feed off the environment. Then you see how that works?
Oh, okay. I see. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah. See, that's
So
what that is.
you're half and half. So you have like
Yeah,
half.
well, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, no. I think I'm gonna have to stay there. And then it's funny we have elementals because I have never, again, I didn't really do a lot of research. Me, I'm Casper, like I just want to talk to either, the Civil War soldier that was there, in Gettysburg, or, you know, whoever lived in that house, or, so I'm like history, Casper, whatever.
Sure.
Um, but I've heard some of my peers or colleagues or, other fellow ghost hunters or whatever talk about elementals,
Yes.
but like a ghosty
Yeah.
realm, right?
Next time we'll talk about elementals because that's like part of the fairy realm.
Oh,
The term elemental comes from Paracelsus. You ever hear of this guy? So he's the guy that invented the word zinc, but he also invented the word gnome as well too, because he believed that the natural world had intelligences. So the water had an intelligence. So
hi, baby.
mermaid,
Sorry,
yeah, you see that? Yeah, that's yeah,
that's like squirrel. You know,
that's right, that's right. But
hi,
yep, just
baby.
she's just here. But yeah, so yeah, and I forgot, Kat. You took my train of thought away again. Um, but what were we just talking about again?
Oh, elementals, elementals.
Elementals, yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, that goes back. That's part of the alchemaic, the whole idea of alchemy and everything. But yeah, we could talk about that one time when we do a show on fairies or what have you, because that's a long discussion.
Wait, so, but they're kind of like what, England, London, like in that
Yeah,
elementals.
yeah, well, the name comes, but if you look at cultures from around the world, everybody has one. Like if you go to Asian cultures, you have the idea. Well, even look at the religions and like Shinto religions. They believe that the whole nature is just endowed with spirit. So I mean, that's part of who they are. The reason why we like to look at it is because we come from such a Christian background that whenever things seem a little bit out of the way, we have to have reasons for all this kind of stuff. So.
Do sexual vampires procreate?
Okay, so that's a great question.
It is a great question because if that's a yes, then I'm out.
Well, unless they do it right. So we go with this guy by the name of Peter Curtin, and he lived in the late 19th, early 20th century, and he classified himself as a sexual vampire. But in order to get the energy that he needed, he killed his victims. So he killed about 9 victims. And if you look at other people like Richard Ramirez and all those people that claim that they're sand when they take the blood, there's always a sexual element to it, but it usually ends in disaster. So instead of procreation, when we have this with this sexual vampirism, we almost have a chaotic destruction.
Somebody's just tuning in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hi,
yeah,
Slade.
yeah. They're saying hello to you on here. Okay.
So go ahead.
No, no, that's the whole thing. So I don't think we ever talk about the idea of procreation. I think it's such a destructive force. It's such it's two primal cataclysmic forces hitting into each other, colliding into each other, and it's just so much energy that there's no chance that there's going to be procreation coming from it.
Okay, so then I'm back in.
You're
I'm
back
back
in.
in.
You're back
I
in.
go back in my circle of sexual vampires, and I'm good.
That's right. So keep that circled. I will be the elemental vampire. You be the sexual vampire. We'll do.
Yeah.
That'll be our thing.
Somebody said, okay, I'll just share it. A sexual vampire is a succubus or incubus.
I think whenever you go with the idea of the incubus, and I do like the idea of that, but the incubus has been with us for such a long period of time that usually what happens is it results in some sort of death, or if a child is born with some sort of abnormality or birth defect, I think that's usually whenever you have the incubus come into play, because you wouldn't believe that it was capable of doing that thing. Shakespeare's Richard the Richard III, the Hunchback and everything. They said that he was his mother was impregnated by an incubus because he was so misshapen. So I think that is a way to you just look at the world. But if you would take this at face value, I don't think the incubus is going to be producing any kind of offspring that's going to be procreative in any aspect.
Mm. No, I don't think they can, right? I
No,
mean,
no, I don't think they can either. And
oh,
you look at the idea of Christian ideology as well too. Procreation is from God. That's a God-given thing. And if we look at this other world, this all has something to do with chaos and a reversal of what the
I
natural
agree, Chris.
order is supposed to be.
Yeah, Chris said that the incubus and succubus had a demonic element to their myth. Which,
Always, always. Even in the world before
yeah.
there was the Judeo-Christian demon element, it was always seen as something that was evil or reviled. Absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah. So we only talked about it for a second though, but what where would the bat and the vampire come into play?
Okay, well, I think that a lot of it has to do with caves were always traditionally the site where people were buried, and then we have bats that go into caves as well too. Now, bats also have been a thing that spreads diseases since time immemorial. The idea of rabies, or even talking about COVID, possibly was spread by a bat. The idea that bats are things that can enter your house very innocently and then bite somebody, and that is the source of a plague or pestilence. I think there's something to be said about that, and that's really where this comes from. Um, there is a theory that at one time there were megabats, very large bats. There's megabats in the world right now, but they're
Oh my god, I know. I saw a picture of it. Like it's literally.
yes, yeah,
Everybody's like, "What would you do?" I'm like, I would love it, like it because they only eat like fruits and
exactly,
stuff
exactly,
like that. So
exactly.
it's not going to hurt you. I would love to have one.
I've always wanted about as well too. But yeah, you're talking about like a 7 foot wingspan on these creatures. These are large bats. Now imagine, if you will, if at one time, we're talking about Africa. What happens if there was a mega bat that was actually a flesh eating bat and
Mhm.
enter into your home. And if you ever watch a vampire bat walking, it has a really odd, almost human gait to it. It kind of like bounces around and it kind of like sneaks up. But if you would think a megabat, something that's sort of like 3 feet off the ground with its wings wrapped around it, then you can start seeing the notion of a cape coming into play, couldn't you? Something coming into your room with what looks to be a cape coming up and feeding off of you. I think it does make a lot of sense. Now, even if that theory is just a theory and conjecture and never really happened, because there's really no proof that it did happen, just the idea of a bat in and of itself sometimes gives the people willies. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you're in your home and you're seeing it, eating off of the fruit or whatever. If you have a bat in your house, have you ever had a bat in your house?
No.
I've had to get a bat out of a couple people's homes, as a matter of fact, and I use a butterfly net to catch them with. But they're very odd. So if you would think at a time whenever it was
They're
very,
so cute.
yeah, they are. They're very cute. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. But again, they're little plague spreaders as well, too. So you can imagine one of these things getting into your home and it bites you. And then a couple weeks later, people start foaming at the mouth and you think, oh, something came into my house. It was this bad creature, that kind of stuff. And yeah.
mm. Really? Like, is that like across the board? Every bat has
Has disease.
rabies or whatever it
Well,
is?
I think, well, they're very communal living creatures. That's the reason why it spread so quickly. There was a cave in France, as a matter of fact, that had such a high concentration of rabies that the people that explored it actually breathed the virus in. So that can happen. I think it's
Oh,
just they congregate. And bats are throughout the world. Now, I don't think the megabats, the ones that like live in trees, I don't think they're have so much instances of rabies, but just the way that they are, and they are mammals and everything, so they're very prone to it.
so Chris just told us something that I probably could have went the rest of my life without knowing
Mhm.
because I'm a huge animal lover.
Mhm.
So
Yes,
wait, so he said that there's bats there that feed off the blood of living animals.
right. The
Um,
vampire bat. It doesn't
now
kill you.
do they kill the animal?
It doesn't kill it. No, no. A
Oh,
vampire
thank
really weak. They're only about yay big or something, and so they have a natural anesthetic in their saliva, and they'll bite into like a cow or a goat, and they'll just lap up the blood, and actually they have an anticoagulant in their saliva as well too. So the animal doesn't feel anything, and whenever they're done, the blood will naturally heal back up again. But again, if this animal has any kind of disease, that then passes on to the animal.
you. Right.
But I'm glad that Mr. Wolfgang brought this up, as a matter of fact, because the vampire bat is one of the only bats in the world that feed off of blood, because blood in and of itself is not very nutritious. Actually, if a human being drinks too much blood, it can poison you.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So your body has to be
Mm.
you kind of like evolved and
Like
adapted.
conditioned to be able
Yes,
to.
conditioned, absolutely. Yeah, conditioned. Yeah.
Wow. So it's like training for like a mud runner or something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Yeah. So if we go back to the very first story that I told you about, the people drinking blood out of those human skulls, they probably seen it as a form of sustenance, but in actuality, it was making them more weaker because there's no, it was actually poisoning their body rather than giving it any kind of life or strength.
Wow. All right, maybe I don't want a bat. I definitely don't want a vampire bat.
Well, I've looked into it. You can actually purchase bats, but the whole problem is that people say that it's like having a flying hamster or something, because they kind of like poop all over the places they're flying. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
So it's like people that want a monkey, and then they say when they get to a certain age, they just start flinging poop everywhere.
they
They become really mad.
rip off your genitals. Exactly. That's, you don't want that happening.
You
Yeah,
don't want that.
don't want that happening. No.
Rip off your
No.
genitals, really?
Yeah, that's a horrible day. Whenever you come home from work and you have your pet ripping your genitals off, that's never
And who knew you were a comedian too? I mean,
the whole thing, man. The whole thing. Yeah. And you wonder why I'm single. I'm sitting here right now looking at myself on the screen saying, why the hell is nobody here? I wish I could be a sexual vampire. I've got to be a freaking elemental vampire because there's nobody in my life.
oh my
Is
goodness.
there a masturbatory vampire out there? Maybe I'll be one of those. I feed off of the energy of Pornhub.
There we go. Hey, at least it's a good one.
Oh my goodness, this went south quickly.
Oh, so, well, I know we don't have anything lined up for the future, which we need to.
Right.
However, we do have a fun May trip
Oh,
planned.
you know what? I am beside myself. I feel like a teenage girl waiting for BTS to come to town. That's what I'm thinking about right now. And I really like Korean pop, by the way.
I'm
Um,
not allowed to have bats either, apparently.
oh no, oh man, Rob, I'm telling you,
No
Rob,
vampires, no bats.
real killer now at this point. So no, but I have to agree with him. No bats. Yeah, that's a good way to, but they are kind of cute. But yes, I'm as anxious as a girl on her prom night.
Yeah, I can't wait. And my friends are like, they're so excited about it.
They obviously are going to be excited about this. There's so much to. We are going to be creating a first time ever tour de force into the world of the paranormal. We're going places where nobody else would dare to go.
So I gotta see, like, I don't want to get lost.
No,
I don't want to get lost.
no. So we will all stay together. We'll
Oh, well, I'm gonna try to see. So my sister's boyfriend literally knows the Pine Barrens, like if they were just normal streets and roads and stuff. Like I
okay.
don't know how, right? So I'm like, should I ask him just to come, like, to be able to take us around?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I might ask him. I don't know if he'll be able to do it, but I'm gonna ask him.
Well, we'll get up there and we will do some, preliminary. Let's go visit some graveyards and such, and then
Oh
take it.
yeah, yeah. Well, we definitely have to go to Atian Cemetery and Batsto Cemetery and you
Yes.
know all that. But um, to go back, like there's like some shady little areas back there.
Mm.
But hopefully, you never know. You never know
It's
what we'll find.
it's in the name of research and trying to answer questions that have been lingering for far too long. And gosh darn it, we're going to get to the bottom of it
Yeah, and it'll be live. So
live.
if anything happens to us,
They get to watch it.
people are gonna
They get
watch.
to watch it. Yep.
Oh,
It's going to be awesome, man.
yeah, no, it is gonna be cool. It'll be a bunch of us. So I think it'll be awesome.
Mm-hmm. I
For
agree.
sure. We either do that. We could do that, or we could go get bat tattoos and go to the vampire bar in New York.
Why couldn't we do both?
Maybe that's a good
All
possibility.
the above. All the above. Yeah. I like the idea. I think a lot of people out there, look, I love podcasts. I love your show. I love Inside the Goblin Universe that we do. There's a lot of good people out there putting out a lot of good things. But I think that if we take it to the next level and actually take the show into an actual expedition, I think that's really going to change the way people perceive not only us, but perceive the way you view the supernatural and the paranormal as well.
For sure. Oh yeah. I can't wait for it. So it'll be fun. I
It
think
will
we're
be
gonna have
fun.
a blast. My girls are coming down on Friday, and we're gonna have like a little shindig here, shenanigans, But
Yes.
and then we'll do Saturday, and we'll see what happens.
I cannot wait. So we need to find out, if there's anybody on here. This is actually a good thing to bring up right now. So if any of your listeners out there have a tattoo guy in the greater New Jersey area, and they would want to tattoo you and I, we would, for free. I'm just saying, we put out there, we would promote their business.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just asking for 2 bat tattoos, single color, right? You just want like one color, right?
Or black.
Yeah, exactly. A bat. We're looking for a bat. We're looking for matching bat tattoos out there, and we will feature your tattoo parlor on our show.
All right. So my best friend she's another one. Ashley. Oh wait, hold on. Where is she? So I saw about our weekend. She said, thanks for the invite. This is my best friend. She's first of all, has never done a paranormal thing in her life. I love her to death, but so I guess Ash, you're allowed to come. You're allowed to go wherever I go.
Yes,
I love you.
because if Hollywood has never lied to me, she would be the first to go. So that would be a good thing.
Nat, are you talking about the Realistic Ink in New York? They will probably charge so.
Yeah, they would probably charge a lot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever see their stuff? Their tattoos are insane. Like I would love to get a tattoo done by that guy, but he's probably so expensive.
Yeah. And there's probably a bit of a waiting list as well, too. So we just need to get in. The only thing that I want it done well, I don't want to get hepatitis B. That's the only thing that I'm asking.
You don't have any tattoos?
I do have 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I know. Let's call tomorrow. Ashley wants to go get the tattoos.
Oh, she wants to get one as well, too.
Yeah.
I want to get one on my shoulder. That's why I want to get it. You said you wanted someone in New Jersey wanted to do tattoo. Yes, exactly right.
I thought they were in New York. I thought Realistic Ink was in New York.
Well, I said in the greater New Jersey area. I guess that's kind of like the greater New Jersey area. I guess that's really not putting much of a boundary on that.
So
I tri-state area.
I do have two guys that in Jersey that definitely are amazing. So
that's good.
Yeah. So we have to come up with our next topic, which you said was going to be on what?
On werewolves.
We're going to be talking about.
I think we want to talk about werewolves and things like that.
Yeah. All right. So our next show is on werewolves.
Yes, it's going to be awesome.
Which I don't know anything about.
Oh, I'm going to tell you so much stuff. It's fun.
What would you classify the Hulk as?
Well, boy, this is a hard one. He is a bioengineered mutant of some kind, right? That's not a naturally occurring thing. He had too many gamma rays.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the whole problem.
Yeah. And he got, I mean, like, because, like when he gets real big and it's like this.
Yeah.
the clothes are ripping. Kind of reminds me of werewolfy type,
It
the
does
hair.
kind of remind you that. Well, a transformation. Whenever I begin to talk on werewolves, we're going to talk about cave painting that they found in France. It's about 25,000 years old, and it shows a human being transforming into a deer-like creature. So the idea that the human being could transform into another animal is something that's been with us since the very beginning as well.
Hmm. Yeah, so on werewolves is going to be good.
Right. So, oh, I know what I wanted to tell you real quick. So
Yeah.
the idea of the vampire. So Bram Stoker then starts writing about the idea of the his vampire changing into a wolf and changing into a bat and changing into rats. The interesting thing is, this is the same time. This is only a few years after Darwin's Origin of Species came out. So this was his kind of commentary on that this vampire was part of the de-evolution, that he was outside of the natural order of things. Because I promised, this being St. Patrick's Day, that I was
I couldn't help it. I had to share.
well, I will. I have a story. I'll tell you about that.
Okay. Okay.
So, so being St. Patrick's Day, Bram Stoker, he was Irish. He grew up as a little kid, sickly little kid, and out his bedroom window, he got to see a graveyard all of his life. So he grew up with this idea of vampires, and then he picked up on the whole Vlad the Impaler legend and everything. But in Ireland, in the wastelands of Ireland, there is a little fairy there called the DRA. Well, it comes out saying Dracula. It's like that. So it's like GRUA. It's that Gaelic stuff that I know nothing about. But it's three different words that basically sounds like Dracula. And this little fairy would wait for travelers, and then it would jump on them and it would suck their blood. So there's a little bit of that in there as well too. So yeah, the Dracula. Yeah, so a little bit of the Irish is in our thing tonight. So, anyways, let me tell you a quick story here. The paranormal. So, if you have a chimpanzee, you apparently want to raise it as if it were your child. That's what people do.
Right.
And I remember this story where this couple had a chimpanzee, and they were throwing it like a 13-year-old birthday party. Interestingly enough, that 13 years old is the same time that chimpanzees reach their sexual maturity.
Oh.
So all animals are pretty cool until they want to procreate. That's usually what happens. That's when all hell hits the fan. Squirrels are actually supposed to be very good pets until they reach sexual maturity. So, whatever
really?
you have, get them fixed or whatever.
They're cute.
And I don't know if you can get your ape fixed. Can you get your ape fixed? Like, can you call that up and say, I need my ape castrated? I don't know.
I don't know. But why?
Anyways.
Would you? Would you?
Yeah, of course.
But it's just too familiar. Apes are very human-like. So
they're very human-like.
Do that to an ape, you're probably like having nightmares that, oh my God, like you wouldn't do it to it.
Well, let me talk to you about nightmares. So, as they are throwing a birthday party for their 13-year-old chimp and giving him cake and presents, the chimp decides that it does not want to be at this birthday party anymore. And then it attacks his owners. And by attack, I mean he removed the woman's eyes, nose, and ears.
What?
Yeah. Oh, this is a true story. Then he went to the guy, and for whatever reason, to exert their dominance, they attacked the genitals. So he ripped off the guy's reproductive parts.
No.
Yeah. So
how did it get that far?
Well, they're very strong animals. He probably just grabs them by the pants and just grabs a hold and just pulls them out.
But I mean, like at some point, like how did it stay on the woman long enough to like rip all that stuff out?
It's probably just in a blink of an eye, no pun intended, because he tore her eyes out. But no, I think it probably happens very quickly. And they've got fingernails and stuff like that. You can look this stuff up. The cops had to come and they had to shoot the ape and everything like that. Yeah, monkey. That's actually it. So let this be a lesson to you.
Yeah.
If you do get yourself a chimpanzee, make sure you get rid of it before it reaches its sexual maturity.
Oh yeah, no. I'm never gonna get it. I don't want
No,
a monkey. I don't want a
I
monkey
would.
anymore.
You know what though? I would like to have one of those flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah. No, I know what I want. I want one of those little sugar gliders.
I
Oh,
I do too. I do too. What is the number one way that those little bastards die?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to know.
They fly into toilets and they can't get back out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yep. True story. True story. We're not allowed them in Pennsylvania anymore. They're outlawed.
Really?
Yeah, that and hedgehogs.
Why not hedgehogs?
They get into the environment, and I guess they
I
eat.
didn't know hedgehogs were like wild.
I know. Yeah, but we're not allowed to have hedgehogs here.
What?
I
I never
know.
heard of such a thing.
I know.
I
I know.
didn't know they were wild.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
people
they're
let them
native to
go?
Africa. They're native to Africa. So
Yeah, but do people let them go?
I think that they do.
And that's why nobody can have them in where you're
Yeah,
at?
and they escape and stuff like that. Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know it's very crazy.
Yeah, everybody's changing their mind about the whole wanting the monkey thing. You know,
Good.
Aladdin makes it look awesome.
Yeah, there is a book out called "Real Men Don't Own Monkeys." I would suggest anybody picks that up and starts reading that, and that goes into detail why you should not own.
Yeah, good. What you said already was good
Yeah.
enough for
That's
me.
good. Yeah.
My best friend still wants one. She would.
You know, okay. So Ashley, let me ask you a question. You seem to be an attractive enough human being. You have two eyes, a nose, two ears. Why don't you keep it that way and not get yourself an ape?
Yeah. Like I want a Black Panther, but I know realistically
Exactly.
that would not be a good idea.
Yeah, this little creature right here, this sweet little creature right here. Look how,
Oh,
if you mess with her too long, she'll scratch you, and that's from a.
yeah.
You can imagine what a Black Panther is going to do to you.
Yeah. No, I had 5 cats at one point. I'm down to 3.
Nice, nice, nice.
But
I've got 2.
yeah, I'm down to 3 and a puppy.
What
But
kind of puppy do you have?
I have a niece.
No.
He's probably right. He's probably at the door because
I think we should see. I think it's show and tell time.
Come here, baby. Yep, he's at the door. He's like he goes through. Oh, my cats are all out there too. Come on, come here.
Oh, that is adorable.
Say hi. Oops. Say hi.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He's my baby.
It's a very nicely groomed dog as well, too.
Yeah. Well, he's getting a bath. I like him a little shorter.
I see.
He's getting his bath on this Saturday, actually.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah. Anyways, so we have to plan our next on werewolf, but we'll have to create something. I'm not really good with like making banners and stuff like that.
Either way.
You know, do you know anybody? Because like I don't know how to.
Yeah, my good friend Brian Bowden is good at making banners. We'll get him in.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do.
What was that?
I gotta plug my computer in.
All right.
I guess. But anyways, we'll have to make like a banner for it.
Yep.
And I hope my phone. If we cut out, I love y'all. I'm trying to hurry up. I thought my laptop was plugged in. But anyways, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Never a dull moment on the brew, that's for sure. Oh, there we go. We'll have to create a banner. Hi.
There we go.
We'll have to create a banner for the May thing, and then we'll just go from there. But we'll have to plan our own werewolves thing. And anybody that's watching, you can get his books and go ahead and plug away, like where your podcast, everything.
I'm not good at self-promotion. My book's on Amazon. You can reach me directly on Facebook if you want to reach me directly on Facebook, and we can become friends and we can chat. But yes, so my books on all these great, interesting subjects are just as, enthralling as me talking about them right here. It's kind of like I'm sitting in your bed whispering in your ear as you read it, as a matter of fact. So let that image kind of fester. And then, so they're all available over there on the great page of Amazon where everything is bought and sold.
And then your podcast?
Podcast, Inside the Goblin Universe. I've not done a podcast for a while because I've been a busy little beaver. but I am going to get back into the podcast game because you're coming on.
Yes, I can't wait to come on.
I can't wait either. It's
And then Brian will have to do a thing for that so that I can share it on the brew. And
he will. He will do it. Yep, he will do that, and it's going to all work out well. And then when we're finally doing our research and our investigation of the Pine Barrens, we'll be able to go live. You'll be able to go live. Look, Nat just ordered the vampire one. I thank you very much for that. See, look at this. It's already happening. I'm blushing and everything like that. You got to let me know what you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ron, once again, thank you so much for coming on.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Every time I'm here, I'm always in awe of you as a human being. So
Likewise.
we'll make plans and we'll do this all over again. And then we do one next month, and then we'll just get together in May, and all kind of mayhem will break loose. So
yes, shenanigans. I love it.
Shenanigans. That's right.
Well, you enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yep. And to all your listeners, thank you very much. I had a great time.
Yes. My goodness, you're like, I can't wait. Like, I'm excited for the future. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'll be on next week, and then we'll set something up for bye. We'll set something up with you for future. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And I'll see you guys next week, hopefully. Good night.